What's happening in the world? I'm not 100% recovered from my head cold, so if you'll excuse me, I might be a little sniffly, but today's February 20th, and my name is Reagan. I have a handful of pages to go through that I've been saving up the past couple days, and it's going to be kind of an ADHD broadcast, so I'm going to rapid fire through these. Stay with me, pay attention. But some quick announcements. I did sell my meat sauce and end up purchasing what I needed to protect myself when the shit hits the fan. This is a Springfield Saint chambered in 5.56-223. And it is a beast.
Hickok 45, and here we are again with the Saint over here on the chapter 2 range. So I can miss faster, how's that? All right. Now I guess we'll have to put one in the chamber. And these guys right here.
I am very proud to own it. Haven't done any modifications to it yet, literally just from the store yesterday with two 30-round magazines. This is what you need, folks, because by the end of this decade, if we aren't already tossing nukes at each other, food prices will skyrocket, corporations will ruin our lives, and as in jacking up prices even further. Basically, the common man will not be able to have a manageable life and thus be using force against each other. So you'll want to stay protected. Anyways, had to get that quick announcement out the way. I'll probably take it to the range in about 2 weeks and then slowly but surely upgrade it. So let's get into today's news articles. There's a lot to go through. Some of them are climate related, some of them are not. I think it's interesting because I like to know about stuff, and I'm a journalist. So hit like and subscribe, and thanks for tuning in. Let's get into it. First up, from Grist, a site I quite fancy. I'm gonna kind of run through these as quick as possible. Why are BP, Shell, and Exxon suddenly backing off their climate promises? Quote, "If we see value, we'll do it. If we don't, we won't." Surprise, they've been saying that the whole time. And I'm going to paraphrase this article, as it wasn't long ago that oil giants were trying to outdo one another to promise to cut carbon emissions and take on climate change. In 2020, the price for a barrel of oil briefly plunged below zero, and the world's largest oil and gas companies portrayed themselves as getting serious about renewables. Wrong. BP promised to slash its emissions, Shell promised to go net zero, and ExxonMobil trumpeted its efforts to transform algae into fuel. But in recent weeks, these oil giants have begun tapping the brakes on these much publicized initiatives. BP walked away from its target to reduce emissions by 35% by 2030, once lauded as the most ambitious target. Shell said it would not increase spending on renewable energy this year, contrary to expectations. Meanwhile, Exxon has pulled back from funding from its long algae effort. Meanwhile, they raked in $28 billion, $40 billion, and $56 billion from BP, Exxon, and another Western oil company. Surprise, record profits, and the world is burning, and they keep continuing to do so. Maybe if we all just had frontal aphasia. Poor Bruce Willis, 67 years old, has been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, his family announced Thursday. A die-hard legend, going out with a fizzle. I can't say much more on that other than just a tear. This is front page news. Finally, catching up. Nearly 30 dangerous feedback loops could permanently shift the Earth's climate. By the way, I'm not including links for any of these guys. You could just type it on Google and it'll pop up, I'm sure, first thing. Dangerous climate feedback loops are increasing global warming and risking causing a permanent shift away from Earth's current climate. Climate feedback loops are cyclical chain reactions that happens when one change triggers further changes in a process that keeps on repeating itself. Some of these feedback loops drive down warming, others amplify it. So, as many of my subscribers know, there's 41 more than 41 climate feedback loops, and they found 27 are increasing temperatures, while just 7 are helping to slow. Sounds far outnumbered. And for more on feedback loops, you can do your own homework. There are plenty. And I think I did a video or two on it. Greta's new book urges the world to take climate action now. The climate book covers basic science, denialism, and solutions. And so this article goes through the urgency to act now, and this kind of paraphrasing this book that Greta Thunberg wrote in regarding the climate crisis and how we, work together. And foremost, she says, I'll say a quote, "To me, hope is not something that is given to you. It is something you have to earn to create. It cannot be gained passively through standing by and waiting for someone else to do something. Hope is taking action. While I hope to survive a few more weeks after our climate completely breaks down, our food supply goes kaput, and everyone is slitting each other's throats at Walmart. Yeah, that's what I expect by 2040. Definitely. So my hope is to survive a few weeks. If that. I got an AR-15. Fun side note here from Climate, brain imaging provides insight into the capacity for malevolent creativity. So this article goes on to explain from SciPost that creativity is generally accepted as a positive attribute, but is it always? A study published in Brain and Cognition explores malevolent creativity, a form of creativity based on hurting others, and possible neurological explanations for it. And I have been the victim of this far too many times. Malevolent creativity is a type of ingenuity used to cause deliberate mental, physical, or emotional harm on other individuals. People high in this type of creativity are manipulative and malicious, working towards antisocial goals. Examples of malevolent creativity can range from lying and harassment to terrorism and torture. It has been linked to other negative traits such as psychopathy and Machiavellianism. Despite this, little is understood about the neurocognitive basis of malevolent creativity, which is what this study seeks to address. So, people getting creative about antagonizing you, oh, did you not think about that? It's like just awful, just humans. We use our good talents to harm others, period. We have that capacity. So you can go through the study here of how they came to this, but what they found is people who scored high on malevolent creativity showed decreases in prefrontal posterior coupling when listening to the recording of someone's desperate crying, indicating being affected by that emotion. So, blunted responses to anger could be an adaptive trait for people who engage in malevolent creativity, as it may allow for more risk and less fear of retaliation. So they don't really care about that's a kind of psychopathy. It's disassociating from the current moment, acting in whatever manner behavior you believe is necessary, even when the other person is clearly suffering or crying. Just awful behavior. Additionally, the decreased coupling in response to the sound of crying can indicate pleasure derived from hearing a person's pain, a tendency that previous research would suggest be related to malevolent creativity. Individuals high in malevolent creativity showed increased EEG coherence and thus greater emotional detachment during sound clips signaling angry aggression, possibly indicating that they are unperturbed by potential consequences of their malevolent actions. So they don't really give a shit about how they perceive other people's suffering. This is some Machiavellian dark triad traits. Conversely, individuals who are skilled in generating a large pool of malevolent creative ideas in order to sabotage or take revenge on others display decreased EEG coherence during others' desperate crying, indicating they may take pleasure in other people's adversity. I have my AR loaded for these people, and you guys know that. 100%. Moving on. Like I said, guys, I'm going as quick as I can. Then here's this climate doom loop. I like this doom loop. Only on the Doom Wizards channel. Unfortunately, it's blocked, but it's a paraphrase of the same CNN article talking about feedback loops. But, moving on, the EU Green Deal chief says world to face wars over food and water without climate action. How do you think that's going to go? Deaf monkeys. The European Commission climate chief warned Friday society will be fighting wars over food and water in the future. Oh, that's great. Looks like I need to buy another 100 more rounds of 5.56 if serious action is not taken on climate change. Timmerman, this is EU's green. Yeah, it just says that. Without action, Timmerman says there's no doubt in my mind that my kids and grandkids will be fighting wars over water and food. My kids and grandkids. Can someone look up how old his kids are? Because I am preparing. Retirement? Food and ammo. U of I, moving on, U of I research finds link between climate change and conflict, a kind of reiteration of what I just mentioned. A new research from the University of Illinois, more fuel to the fire, shows a strong link between climate change and global conflicts. Research on Friday. Duh, we knew this. Associated with so it's how nuanced relationship between temperature and deviations and social conflicts is now not found in previous research. So they're just quantifying common sense and thinking, if our food supply goes, there's going to be civil unrest. Yes, moving on. A second dust bowl cometh for America, supercomputer warns. Droughts, flash floods, and a future for the Midwest, probably. Okay, so instead they forecast a place with increasing frequency over the next 50 years. But even by the middle of the century, just 27 years from now, simulations suggest that large portions of the Midwest will be in a state of persistent drought, and the American West isn't looking much better off. Duh, we knew this, guys. Just more fuel to the fire. I'm not going to put the link, but PBS Terra has a video out published like 2 weeks ago about the riskiest places to live. It's a good one. Basically, I could have done the same video, but in our woke culture, because I'm not an African-American girl wearing white and looking pretty, and I don't have a budget, I'm doing this all in my freaking room, okay? Sorry, that's not attractive. Yes, there are other mainstreams are starting to catch on, okay? I've been covering this for a while. Thanks for subscribing. Moving on, Aubrey Plaza had a stare down with Joe Biden, made his face red at a youth conference as a teen. Okay. Nobody cares. Climate and economy on February 18th was good. Okay, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but let me just hit these highlights. Temperature surges to 40 degrees, 104 degrees Fahrenheit in February. I always forget to turn off the air conditioning while I'm reading record-breaking temperatures in India. 40 degrees in February is the earliest ever seen in India. It's also the earliest ever in the whole Asia together. Pakistan, also crazy warm. Water scarcity in Pakistan. Cyclone Freddy, the year's first Category 5 storm, heads for vulnerable Madagascar. New Zealand, Cyclone Gabrielle destroyed them. Droughts and record-breaking heat waves already. Second winter heat wave arrives in Germany. I mean, it's going to get up to 70 degrees next week, and then the next day, 30 degrees. Like you guys said, a 40-degree difference. Oh, that's normal. Oh, we're having don't even get me started. This sarcasm. Climate and economy, great website. Deadly storms in New Zealand are forcing country to reckon with climate change. Again, Gabrielle. And this is Una. I'm going to have to teach her how to use an AR-15. She's a little rascal. A little cat break. Really affectionate. She really likes me. She thinks I'm a cat in her little cat colony. She doesn't know why, but I'm just a big cat. Okay. Don't think she's going to do much to protect me, to be totally honest. But she's cute for now. From the New York Times, another opinion newsletter on climate change. Listen to the rage-filled youth before savvy commentators. Rage-filled youth over here, guys. Watch out. I don't even need to really read this. He's just saying that profit system that leaves 30 million Americans uninsured. You want to fix the problem? Public insurance option available to all Americans, not just the poor and elderly, or even nationalize health care. We're the first world country, and we don't have health care for all is, by this point, and so many of my peers are in college debt, is the makings of an empire in decline. It is like the telltale signs of how you completely degenerate a population. Restrict their educational access and don't give them health care. Mortality rates have gone up and life expectancy has gone down. Whoa, what a revelation. Moving on. Climate change-linked heat worsened Argentina drought impact, scientists say. Don't need to read much more than that. It's blocked. Extreme high temperatures in Argentina linked to climate change exacerbated the impact of historic drought that has hit South America's country farm regions since last year, said scientists in a report Thursday. Who's listening? Nobody. Plants are responding much faster to climate change than expected, from Earth.com. Do I sound okay? What you guys knew, plants are moving, terrestrial biospheres are moving northward. That's what the emphasis of this new study from Brown University. Again, I refer to the PBS Terra. In fact, I'll just link it. Where's the riskiest places to live in climate change? It uses the data from ProRepublica, which factors in all the extreme weather and events and where people might live. And there are many places in the South which will be hit, like Georgia, will be hit simultaneously by all extreme weather and climate-related disasters. Moving on. Quantum physicist makes a nanoscopic breakthrough of colossal significance. In a new breakthrough, researchers at the University of Copenhagen in collaboration have solved the problem that caused researchers can now control 2 quantum light sources rather than 1. Trivial as it may seem to those uninitiated quantum, this breakthrough allows researchers to create a phenomenon known as quantum mechanical entanglement. This in turn opens new doors. What? Quantum entanglement? Are we talking about endgame? Are we going into time travel now? Can we time travel back and wipe out half the species? Maybe save us a few decades? I don't know. U.S. and South Korea staged a joint air exercise after North Korea's missile launch. They launched an ICBM this Saturday and 2 more missiles yesterday. Things are ratcheting up. Nostradamus predicts that World War III will start from a plane crash this year. Maybe a test rocket accidentally hits a Western Allied plane, and there you go. Nukes start flying. Yay! Whee! Which countries, moving on, pollute the most ocean plastic waste? Well, we can see here, not America, although they didn't factor in America, but Philippines and India. Lots of plastic waste. You guys can go through that. Surprise! Next article. Archaeologists in China burst into laughter after unearthing a 2,200-year-old flush toilet. What? Look at this thing. It's advanced because of the water drainage system. Wow. All of this just to flush the doo-doo. I don't need to read on that. Bernie wrote an article in The Guardian. Oligarchs ran Russia, but guess what? They ran the U.S. as well. I don't need to read this. You guys can. The system's broken. The top 1% took, and the top 1%, the top 1% took all of it. They took all of it, dude. Most of us are like at least $8,000 in debt. The bottom 20%, the hardworking, the backbone. Yeah, socialism, Marxism, blah. No, moving on. Russia has committed crimes against humanity in Ukraine. Surprise. Anybody surprised? Do I get a surprise sound? No. And climate change real estate bubble risks billions. Total housing market evaluation based on flood risk. Would you believe it? Florida, $50 billion. Likely flood exposure, based on likely flood exposure and damage to properties in 2020 to 2050. Then, of course, you got California, Texas, Washington, not Ohio. But, yes, maybe time to invest into insurance companies. Maybe. Again, North Korea makes fresh threats after U.S. bombers fly after ICBM test. North Korea said Sunday its latest ICBM test was meant to further bolster its fatal nuclear attack capacity and threatened additional powerful steps over upcoming military drills. The U.S. responded by flying long-range supersonic bombers in a show of force later Sunday. Like, this is getting out of control. Tensions are higher than anybody's ever seen them. From not just North Korea, but Iran and China, the whole rest. Political tensions. So that wraps up my what's happening in the world. It was a long one. I went fast as I could. Hope you hung on. Get prepped, Doomers. Take care of your health. I'll talk to you later. See ya.